ready for another edition of Warpaint TV, brought to you by Cotman Transmission of Olathe, Kansas, 913-768-1000.
Welcome back to Warpaint TV. Once again, I'm Shane Williams here with Chiefs Insider Nick Athan. Cinco de Mayo, Nick.
Happy Mexican Day. This is the day we should all celebrate.
We are celebrating here on the.
We may not have football for a while.
We're going to talk draft, even though the football NFL's in the state it's in. Hey, you said 2 weeks ago that Pouncey would be available with the 21st pick. Was it the Florida Gator connection with the Miami Dolphins is the reason why you think they nabbed him at 15?
Well, I think the Dolphins did a really good job of smoke screening. There was a lot of talk about Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback from Nevada, that ultimately the San Francisco 49ers traded up in the second round to get. And they did a good though people thought that's where he was going to end up. Yeah, I'm sure the connection there. Listen, the guy's an outstanding player. But the Chiefs were all right. They didn't do too bad in rounds 1 and 2. You
know, Baldwin, a lot of people didn't know about him because there was such a drop-off. In some mock drafts were from second receiver to the third receiver. What do you feel John Baldwin adds to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, he gives them a tall, long-armed, fast receiver, a guy who can catch the ball over the middle, who's not afraid to get hit. He's got a lot of attitude on him. He's got a lot of fire. This is a guy who's a perfect complement to Dwayne Bowe. Unless Dwayne Bowe, Larry Fitzgerald, all those things that you keep hearing about materialize one way or the other. But I mean, it's clear the Chiefs needed another wide receiver. I mean, this offense, we saw in the last couple of games, I mean, they just couldn't get the ball down the field. Actually, from kind of the Broncos home game on, they really had a hard time, with the exception of at St. Louis, where they opened it up a little bit. But, they need another wide receiver. They actually have to pick up another one. I mean, they're going to have to get a third wide receiver at some point. Whenever free agency begins, if it begins, I think you're going to hear more Larry Fitzgerald. I think you're going to hear Sidney Rice. Beeston from Arizona might be a good pickup for the Chiefs. I think there's going to be another slot receiver they're going to have. They added Kevin Curtis a year ago, kind of went through what he had to go through with testicular cancer, and he came back. The Chiefs signed him for the playoff game. He may be a factor as well. I mean, though he's approaching that age where you really want younger receivers, he's certainly a good option. I think Chris Chambers is done. I think he'll be released as soon as they ever sort out this madness. But he's the perfect complement at the moment for Dwayne Bowe, a guy that they can throw the ball to on the opposite side of the field, avoid double teams. This is going to help Jamal Charles, going to help Tony Moeaki. It looks like Dexter McCluster's moving to running back, so I mean he'll probably still line up in the slot at times, which is a nice weapon to have. But I don't think the Chiefs are done at this position.
Last year in St. Joe we had an opportunity to see the Chiefs practice, and on the offensive line, Casey Wigman did some time. He was a starter, but throughout the training camp, Rudy Neiswanger had more reps. He had more reps to the offensive line. Now they drafted which brings me to the second round draft pick Hudson out of Florida State. Do you think Casey Wigman will tutor him the first couple games, or do you think this is Hudson's job from the get-go?
I think Hudson's going to start. I think they have to. I mean, they have to start making the evolution along the offensive line. I mean, it's Casey Wigman now. Brian Waters may also be now as well. We don't know. But, I mean, you got a guy like this who can come in, and he can start right away. He's played 4 years, at a major conference, at a major college. He's had one penalty in 4 years playing guard, tackle, and center. I'm sorry, I love Casey Wigman to death, but, he's going to be 38 years old. The Chiefs have to get younger. I thought he was the second best center in this draft, clearly, even though he went at third as the third center, and the Raiders taking Wisnowski, which was the family tree thing. And I don't think he's as good a center as what the Chiefs got. But I think put him out there in the middle of the lineup in that offensive line. Let him get used to it. Let him earn his stripes. We don't know what this year is going to unfold. We don't know if the schedule is going to fall in the Chiefs' favor where, they may be able to win some more games than people didn't initially think. But when you've got an opportunity to get a young center, just like what the Chiefs did with Tim Grunhard, guard from Notre Dame, moved him to center, they immediately put him in the starting lineup, and I think the Chiefs will do the same thing here.
We'll be right back after a brief message from Cotman Transmission.
My experience at Cotman was phenomenal.
They worked on my car while I waited. I was in and out in maybe like 30 minutes.
When you're dealing with your car, you drive it every day. You need someone that you can trust to work on it.
It's a good experience.
I'm a Cotman customer for life.
I trust Cotman.
He's my Cotman man, and he keeps me rolling along.
All right, for a second there, we thought we had the lockout lifted. I made it clear last month that I'd locked my razor up.
You're not going to shave until they
I'm not shaving until we get a lockout cleared.
I'm not joining you in that today, but I thought, no, I need to clean up.
Anyway, my point is, we thought we were going to have football. The owners appealed. What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, I mean, it's still in the appellate process as we're on the Cinco de Mayo day. I mean, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, obviously in St. Louis, still has this under their jurisdiction, and at any point they could put a stay on the lockout. They could make the NFL go back to business, but we're going to be in the same boat in the first part of June. And from it sounds like, I think the players are expecting that they're going to lose this appeal process. The NFL had to file a 30-minute brief. They're going to go, I think, June 3rd or something like that, and make their case. Both sides will get 20, 25 minutes, and they could take upwards of 6 to 8 weeks to rule. So, listen, they go back to the bargaining table on May 16th, and honestly, that's really the only hope here. But there's going to be a lot of hard feelings. There's a lot of emotions involved. I think the NFL and Roger Goodell have overstated some of their things, and I think DeMaurice Smith, the head of the NFLPA, has overstated some of his things. I mean, they're both to blame, and they're both equally to blame. There was no excuse for being there in the second day of the draft to hear that the lockout's back on. I mean, it shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't be that way. They're going to have to start the business at some point. But again, even if they do, it may be temporary. And it's sad for the fans. And you and I were joking about this before we started. You know what? I still maintain, no matter how bad they screw this thing up, and they're doing a great job of it, the NFL is indestructible. I mean, it really is. And it's never going to be – it's always going to be number one. It's going to be head of college basketball and college football. It's going to be head of Major League Baseball. The NHL and the NBA I don't even think factor into the equation at this point. And that's no slight on them, but this is the king of the king. This is the creme de la creme. This is the greatest sports league in the history of professional sports. And you know what? They're just going through a process right now where they're just flexing their muscles. Someone's going to lose. Someone's going to win. But I'm telling you, if they start the season on September 11th, with what this country and this world has gone through in the last 72 hours or so, if the NFL owners and the NFL players don't recognize what an important day that is, then shame on them. And if they can't see what the bigger picture is, shame on them even further. So we'll see. I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic that we're going to start football on time. But if they go back to the table on May 16th and they can put some of this stuff aside and they can look at what's happened in this country and around the world, which I think is significant. I don't want to get too political here, but I think it's significant. That's going to be a very important day in the history of this country. And what better way to do it than to celebrate by having, 16 NFL stadiums or 15 NFL stadiums, because they play the Thursday night game, full, jets flying over, the flag bearing everywhere. I think everybody needs to see the big picture.
God bless America. And with that being said, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for this episode of Warpaint TV. Until next time, I'm Shane Williams. Again, Chiefs Insider Nick Athan. Until next time, keep it right here at warpaintillustrated.com.
Don't miss another edition of Warpaint Illustrated, the magazine. To get your subscription today, call 888-979-0979. That's 888-979-0979, or check out warpaintillustrated.com.